Welcome to my series of James Bond reviews. In here, we're going to be reviewing every James Bond movie leading up to No Time to Die that probably comes out in October. We've had 24 official James Bond movies and 5 people in the suit. And today we are covering the very first James Bond movie, Dr. No. This movie came out almost 60 years ago and starred Sean Connery, Ursula Andress, and a bunch of other people. Before I decided to start a series of James Bond reviews, I hadn't seen a single James Bond movie, but I really liked this movie. This movie surprisingly holds up a bit better than most movies of its time. Like, there is a couple of scenes that are dated and cheesy, but for the most part, it didn't really age, and I think that this movie won't age. But the pacing is actually a bit of an issue. The first 30 minutes feel way too fast and too energetic. Basically James Bond goes on this side mission to find some clues, and he just finds the car and gets the clues, and then he's on the mission, and it feels so fast that you're kind of confused on what's happening. But then after those first 30 minutes, the movie's pacing gets better. In fact, the movie becomes really good after those first 30 minutes. And there isn't a lot to critique because it's so good and entertaining. But then unfortunately after that, the third act goes down the drain. The villain, Dr. No, is introduced with about 30 minutes left of the movie. And then he pretty much dies a couple minutes after. And it doesn't really seem that James Bond really went up against a villain. And it seemed like he was just trying to find the villain more than take him down. I think that they needed to introduce Dr. No a little bit earlier so that there was time to flesh out James trying to stop him. And then also, another problem with the third act is that the action is way too fast. There's basically 2 fight scenes, one of them which Dr. No dies in, and then the other one is where they're trying to escape the secret base before it blows up. And then basically after that, James Bond and Honey get on the boat, and then the movie's basically over. And it doesn't really satisfy you that James Bond took down the villain. This movie also has an amazing soundtrack. It's mostly just the James Bond theme, but every time it appears, it makes every scene better. And you're pretty much excited to see what happens when you hear the music come on. It also has like some Hawaiian or romantic music in here, and during like the beach scenes and the scenes when women fall in love with James Bond, and it does feel pretty relaxing and a good choice of music for those scenes. This movie has some great dialogue too. It holds up almost after 60 years, and I can't really find a single line of dialogue that's bad. Some of them do feel out of place or just average, but none of them really seem bad. This movie's fight scenes haven't really aged that well, and they're not really exciting. They basically happen in about 3 minutes, and there's not a whole lot of fighting. It's basically just a bunch of chases, and then someone will get into a wreck or something, and it doesn't feel really exciting. But it's not a whole big of an issue because it doesn't really feel like the main focus is that, and it feels like it's more about developing the characters more than trying to get action, and also trying to make you interested in James Bond's journey. So you don't really mind that the action sequences are pretty lame. This movie has some good and likable characters. James Bond is really entertaining and cool, and he has some great one-liners in this movie. Most of the women in here show up for like a couple scenes and aren't very important to the story, but they're not really boring, and you don't really care when they show up because they're pretty entertaining. But then Honey is the best Bond woman in here. She's more fleshed out and more big part of the story, and it really makes her character feel important to the story. Overall, Dr. No is a pretty good 2 hours. that makes you interested to see Sean Connery's other journeys, and I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. Thanks so much for watching. You can check out my second channel, Nerd Nation Vlogs, in the description. I'll see you guys later. Bye.